Everyone, welcome back to the Badgerland Birding Podcast, bringing you birding news and stories from the Badger State and beyond. Today, we're with our friend Owen, who is a birder overseas, and I'm going to have him pronounce his last name. But it's been cool to see his posts in some of the community groups, and I'm excited to learn about what birding is like where he's at. How's it going,
Hey,
Owen?
yo, what's up? I'm Owen Kroeze. I'm from the Netherlands. I am based in Almelo, but soon I will be based in Wageningen because I will be going to university. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure
of
thing.
course.
How old are you, Owen?
I'm currently 17. I will turn 18 in the summer. Um, and yeah, I'm still pretty new to birding. I've been doing it for almost a year now.
Hmm?
Very cool.
How'd you get started with it?
Um, well, I was always interested in nature, as in from a child. Other kids wanted to be a policeman or whatever, and at 3 years old, I already knew both what a biologist was and that I wanted to become one. Um, but in my later teen years, I was like starting to feel like I wasn't out there enough. Like I was, of course, reading and having some consuming media of nature, but I wasn't really experiencing it. And then a teacher of mine introduced me to the website waarneming.nl. It's basically a European slash Dutch version of iNaturalist.
Hmm.
But it's like way bigger than both iNaturalist or eBird over here. So I was introduced to that, and I was hooked. And I immediately went out with my parents' old camera and started photographing everything I could find. And that's how it started, basically. And then I started going around to several other places, like one that was like an hour and a half away on bike. And then one Sunday morning, I saw a group of people standing there. They were all grouped together, and they had like these telescopes with them. I didn't know what they were back then, and I was curious, so I went over and introduced myself, and I was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they were doing the starting the fall migration. It was the first day of the fall migration, and they've welcomed me in, and I had a lovely time with them, and they immediately added me to their group chat, and I had a lovely time with them, and I still talk to them right now, and they're the main group I bird with if I'm not just by myself.
Cool. Is that like a bird club then?
Kind of. It's a year listing bird group,
Hmm.
but as I mentioned, it's specifically to the part of my country called Twente. So it's basically like a confound border of not like a province, but a sub province where you have the same dialect.
Hmm.
So that's how it's and how it became as a group, and or the different. I what's the word in English? As you may know, the Netherlands, their native tongue is Dutch, so
Hmm.
that's why some of the words sound a bit different, and that's why I sometimes can't think of words. Um, it's a county. That's the word. How the
Okay.
different counties were grouped together into one grouping of the Cold Twente.
Okay. So what's the popularity level of birding in the Netherlands? Is it something that many people do, or is it kind of a more fringe hobby? What's it
Um,
like there?
it really depends. In some areas, especially the high popular places like the Birding Isle of Texel, one of the isles of the Wadden Isles, which is a huge destination for birding, but also just for holiday goers. So often they clash there, and there you see the most birders. But it's because of waarneming.nl, it's pretty popular, but not only with birds, but also you can put on literally all life, from fungi and bugs all the way to lichens. So basically all of Dutch, Belgian, and German, or well, more German people interested in nature are all on there. And I know you have like you can sign in on email on eBird to get like rare bird
Mhm.
alerts. It's on VideoMicPro now. It's actually on the home page, so you can see what rare things are immediately as you open the website. So that also entices people to go out looking for rarities.
That's really interesting. What are some of the common bird species that you see? Because I'm sure like the composition is way different than what we have here. So what like if you looked out your window, what would you see?
Well, I'm at a newly, well, our old, our house is pretty old. It's from, it was built around 1930, but
Wow.
we just had a like a entire group of buildings built around our place. So if I look out my window, I'm lucky to see just the Eurasian magpie. Um, but if I go to like the local forest, which is like 10 minutes on bike, I'm a Dutch guy. I bike everywhere. If I go to my local forest, you can see from common chaffinch to some of the more regular woodpeckers and the black woodpecker. Um, but yeah, it kind of depends. Like there's a certain group, of course, like a group of 30 birds where I can be like, yeah, if I want to see them, I can go 5 minutes and I'll find them.
Mhm.
But it really depends on the season and the weather. The Netherlands is really influenced by migration. So in spring, summer, and fall, you'll see very different species than in the winter. And that causes it to be like most birds around here are migratory. So you do have some that stay the entire year. Think of the herons, think of some of the buzzards, but technically they do migrate. We get the ones from Scandinavia and the ones from ours move south. Um, and that way you get quite an influx of different species of birds throughout the entire year.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What are some of the like big rarities that have either come through or that you're always on the lookout for?
Well, as it happens, yesterday I did find a rarity for my area myself. I found a Caspian tern
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
at a sand digging site with which has some water, and it's not too rare for the Netherlands, especially along the coast, but but for the area where I'm in, it's extremely rare. It has been last time it was seen was like 3 years ago. So half of the year listers went there after my find, which was very fun. We had a black-winged kite recently in my area. Oh, well, in my area, it's 3 hours by bike, so I got a lift there, which was migrating through. We usually get the rarities are the species that fly in from the south that overshoot their migration
Mm.
from the Mediterranean area.
Gotcha. So you're pretty close to like Germany and Belgium then?
Yes, not to Belgium. I am like in the middle of the country, north-south wise, but I'm all the way to the east. And
Okay.
I think the German border is like 30 minutes car drive, 1.5 on bike.
that's
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, do you go and do stuff in there often or?
Not very often. Most of the species are very similar, if not exactly the same here than 20 kilometers of the border. There is a lake that I went to with the other birders of my area, the Spruit, which did have some more coastal-ish species. But most of the species are pretty similar, like the first 40 to 50 kilometers from here, except maybe some sites of pygmy owl.
Mhm.
But pygmy owl is a mythical bird around here. So yeah, those are quite hidden quite well.
Gotcha. I find it funny because, like, to you, there's a country so close to you, but to us, there's like, we could travel an hour, hour and a half and just
Yeah,
barely get into like another state. So the
The states are
concept
kind of
of
like
having,
countries, though,
yeah,
is
the
the thing.
yeah.
concept of
I
having
would
countries
I
so
would
close is interesting.
definitely, especially in where I'm from, the Netherlands, like the group of Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg and France. You can definitely see like states more like countries, but like very culturally very differently.
Hmm.
But in wildlife, you do have to drive like a few hours before things start to get different. Except if you go from coast to inland, of course, that's different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a big difference for us and for you is that our states aren't necessarily culturally that different. You know, if you go to
They can
Minnesota,
be.
it'll be, yeah, they can be, but you have to kind of travel pretty far usually. Like your neighboring states aren't going to be that culturally different. But in Europe, all those countries are very culturally different.
Yeah, we all speak different languages.
Hmm.
Myself, I'm obviously fluent into English and Dutch, and I can speak a word of German, but the rest is
What's the word? Is
difficult.
is okay.
Yeah, I'm not too good at languages. Um, yeah, I had a train of thought, but I lost it. So,
That there's a famous dump, like a famous landfill in South Texas called the Brownsville
oh
landfill.
yeah, I've read about it in Kingbird Highway and in
Oh
the
yeah, it's very real.
yeah. No, I'm very excited because this summer I'm actually going to the United States. I will be
Oh,
to to the Southwest. And I'm very excited to see both what the state is like and all the bird life. I did also plan a trip with Rachel Clark in the Sierra
Oh,
Mountains.
oh,
wonderful.
very nice.
Yeah.
And if I can convince my parents to go south, even though it's very warm, I might even be able to go to the southeastern Arizona Birding Festival, which
Oh
Oh,
I'm
man.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in for a lot of fun with
You're
those
gonna
yeah,
get so
trips
many
on the
live
I'm
birds.
very
horizon.
excited.
And well, you guys don't have hummingbirds either, right?
No,
That'll
I'm
be your
very
first
excited.
time to see
I'm
hummingbirds.
so
Yeah.
excited to see hummingbirds. I love like Coast's hummingbird, and if I can see some of the more southern rarities, that would be fun, very fun as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
but what's very not different, exciting is like even if you think of like thrushes or sparrows, our sparrows are actually differently than yours, and how the process of how that was like found out was pretty is exciting for me. I'm reading both John James Audubon and the book that Kaufman wrote about Audubon at the same time,
Hmm.
which I thought
Yep.
was a fun thing to do. Um, and yeah, I've been reading about it, and it's very exciting to see how like the discovery of all your species over there happened.
Yeah, it sounds like it was just a race. Like people just wanted to discover as many of them as possible before anyone else could to just get that, under
Yeah,
their belt.
it's more like more abundancy than accuracy, which
Mhm.
is
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
very odd,
And it
which
was
is
kind of
unusual for today.
it was kind of like, oh, that bird's cool. Like, let's shoot it and take it back. Like,
Yeah,
unthinkable kind of stuff these days.
I mean, it still happens. Every species or almost every species that's recorded is also collected. So it's not different nowadays. It just caught in a more humane way.
You don't hear about it as much, I think, that oh yeah, this one was
That's
shot
that's
recently.
also, and there's a difference between collecting one specimen and getting their DNA and shooting 50 to get the right
Yeah.
picture painted. But
Yeah.
yeah, it does still happen.
I think they're more gentle about how they say it. They're like, yeah, they went to this forest and they collected a specimen, and you're like, what does that
Yeah,
mean? What do you mean
yeah,
by that?
more like put up a net and then just kind of.
This
Yeah,
is
exactly.
getting dark, guys. This is getting dark. But the reason I brought up the Brownsville landfill is I learned some Spanish when I went there with my friend because the people that
Yeah,
worked there only spoke Spanish. So he's like, yeah, you just drive up and you say pájaros, which is the Spanish word for birds, and they just let you in then. So
yeah,
it's kind of funny.
Kind of
Those
like a
like,
secret password.
yeah, knowing like one word of a language, can have some
yeah.
benefits if it's the right word.
Hmm. And yeah, what I did want to go back on your thing about what rare birds we get. We
Mhm.
do also get some of the American migratory birds
You're
over here.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. You could bring them to a different place than just Texel, but it's fine. Um,
We can only do
yeah,
so much for you.
no, it's fine. I'm very excited to go there. And one of the species, which is I just now remembered, which is very odd to hear about, is that we actually have a spectacled eider staying for like a few months here now.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah, it's the most southern and like most remote case ever.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I believe it's about to be accepted as well because it's been staying for so long. It's flying, it's perfect plumage, and it's just hanging out with the common eiders, uh, just trying to get a mate, and it's very fun to see.
How's it is it getting one or is it not having any success?
Um, Breeding season for those is just starting, I believe. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's just hanging out with them and it's still just feeding well. He probably thinks like the shrimp taste a bit different, but they're still shrimp. And yeah, it's still doing fine. So that's very fun to see. I did see it like the week it arrived, like, oh my God, it's such a mega rarity. Let's go there.
Yeah.
But it's still here now, and I do have a trip planned to the island. So yeah, I'm excited to see it again.
That's what's funny is that stuff shows up and you know you should go get it immediately. And whenever you rush to see it, that's the one that stays like 4 weeks or a month. And then when you're like, ah, that'll stay, it's just gone the next day.
I
How it
mean,
always goes.
it doesn't always because the black winged kite I told you about, it was literally like a migrating bird. It got here in the evening, and we all went there at sunrise, and at 9:30 it just flew off again,
Mm.
never to be seen again.
You made the right choice on that one.
Yeah, but what's also very different is I'm still in school. So as you guys might be able to call your boss and be like, hey, I'm a bit sick or whatever. I'm in my final year and I have my exams coming up. So I can't always like call out or whatever. So I do miss quite a few of the rarities also because I can't drive yet. Um, but I try to do everything around here with my bike, and sometimes I take the train to some places if I really want to see something. But yeah, I'm very excited if when and if that changes.
Yeah. I feel like that's the bane for young birders is not being able to drive. That's like they're all like, if I just had my driver's license, I could see so many more birds.
I mean, true, but then you'd also have to pay for gas, which is very
That's
expensive.
also true, yeah.
Then you'd have to work more, and then you can see less, and it's just a vicious cycle. I can
Yeah,
imagine.
you need a sponsor or something like that.
Yeah, I did get sponsored though by, as I said, like I was kind of adopted by the group of local birders.
Huh?
I actually received my first scope and okay binoculars for free from the guy who works at the bird protection agency over here,
Oh,
which was
nice.
a very nice thing to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Has most of your birding taken place in the Netherlands? I know you're going to the US, but have you been to any other places like outside of there?
Um. Well, the first like few weeks, I started out using Merlin as you do. I did go 2 or 3 weeks to France,
Hmm.
to the Mediterranean Sea. But it was summer and I didn't know where to look, so I only got like a few species. But I did get a Scowlops owl, I believe it's called,
Oh,
which it's very common over there, of course, but still very fun to hear the almost like sonar like beeps in the middle of the night. Um, and as I said, I did go to Germany a few times, a handful of times, also to see a Canadian, or in Dutch it's Canadian crane, and for you guys it's sandhill crane
Oh,
oh,
okay.
that ended up there. Uh,
nice.
yeah, Canadensis, you can imagine the name. Um, and I haven't really. I mean, I've gone vacation photos which had birds on them from when I went to southern Chile from the Andean condor and the Magohain woodpecker. But I haven't really gone to any other countries as I've started birding yet because as I said, it's been pretty recently.
Yeah. What do you think Americans would think of like if we just plopped one of them where you are? What do you think they'd think of the community of birds over there?
Birds or birders?
Both.
Um, well, the one thing we usually hear is that we have very boring warblers, which is
Mm.
very true. Um, they're all brown, invisible, and hiding somewhere in the reeds. um,
The Blythe's reed warbler.
Blythe's reed warbler.
a sedge's warbler, Sevy's warbler. You have. common grasshopper warbler, you have Seti's warbler. There's so many, and they're all just brown, and they have very fun songs. Not to get Don't get me wrong, but they're all like hiding out.
And that's like the
All of the
best way to
names for them.
identify them, right? Is by song.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a good picture, of course, you can identify them pretty easily.
Oh, okay. People
But
made
then
it
you need
seem
to
like
get
they looked almost identical, like you couldn't identify them by
um,
visual.
well, they're all like, I believe they're all in different families, so they have like different skull shapes and
Oh,
different.
okay.
So
Yeah.
they're pretty. I believe they're pretty durable. The most of the brown reed warbler-esque species are kind of rare in my area. We get like four or five we get commonly. So I don't know too much about them yet. Same with like some of the more sea-like birds, like terns or petrels. Um,
That's
but the more inland species, I do know quite a few of. Especially, we get all the woodpeckers of that you can usually see in our country, including the more rare wryneck. I did also get for my life list, as I mentioned in the Facebook group a few weeks ago.
mhm.
And we also get like we do occasionally get a seabird. I
That
believe.
that bird's really cool.
Yeah, it's very invisible.
Whoa.
It's a very fun species. You can hear its kind of sound like from pretty far away. But to see it itself, I wasn't as lucky. I know a birder who went a little bit later who did get to see it. But it was very fun. Also, the hoopoe we can get sometimes, which is also a pretty rare migrant. Um, but we have like quite a few moors in our area. Um,
This is it, right?
yeah, that's a wryneck. Yes,
Oh, that's cool.
they're very, and that's the why they're called wrynecks when they move their heads like from left to right.
That's
Uh,
so weird.
yeah, it's a very fun species. I believe it's basically just eats like ants and small bugs. It's very different to other woodpeckers, but it does relate to them.
Is it trying to be a snake?
It could be. I'm not too sure. I'm also not sure if this behavior happens only if it's handled or not, because I've only seen the behavior on cage-kept birds and handheld birds on videos. I haven't seen it in a wild specimen.
So
It looks
otherwise,
like a defense mechanism.
do they just act like a woodpecker then? They just like climb up the tree?
More like they sit there silently, acting like a piece of bark.
Oh,
They're
so kind of like a potu.
Yeah, kind of like a potu. If it were day active and usually on the ground eating ants. It's kind of similar to the Eurasian green woodpecker.
Hmm.
As in, it is a woodpecker. It does nest in cavities, but it's usually found on the ground and not on trees.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. Would definitely like to see one of those one day.
I mean, if you come to our country, I'm sure during the summer and spring days, I'm sure I can, or someone else can show you. They are pretty rare, and they do get bothered by photographers. So
Sure.
Yeah.
so this is one of the species that does get their location usually hidden. But if you get someone like a bit more on the conservative side of the birding community, I'm sure they can help you out with finding a wryneck.
That's cool.
Yeah, that'd
Do
be
you
pretty cool.
do you feel like the community is very competitive in the
Um,
Netherlands?
I haven't met any, luckily, so far. But that is because I'm still pretty confined to my little area of a small country. Um, and I haven't really been to any major twitches that weren't like a duck that's 100 meters off sea that cannot be bothered by anyone if they tried, or I haven't really seen any behavior that was like diabolical, but I've heard quite a few stories that are pretty unfortunate to hear, and that they are pretty competitive. But that's definitely not everywhere.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was Arjen Dwarshuis
Yeah,
was talking about that. Like it's pretty, like people are really big into listing and stuff over there.
yeah. Listing is like a very large part of it, a lot of birding culture here. Uh, And I'm also a filthy lister. I won't deny anything like that. But I don't always have to get the most perfect picture. I'm just happy to see the bird if I can, or hear the bird and be able to identify it or use bird in. And the help of the other birders, like, is this where I think it is? And then yes, or they're like, no, you silly. And that's
Yeah.
usually how it goes in my area. But I do hear some horror stories of people even going around like stealing great eagle owl nests, and especially the owls. But like, there's quite a few species who get bothered here quite a bit, which is unfortunate.
So do you think that you're about to like explode onto the scene as a birder once you know, have more mobility? Like, is this just the beginning for you, you think?
It's definitely the beginning for me, but I'm not sure if I will be just confined to the Netherlands, as I want to study field biology, and I would like to go on like excursions to when a species is about to be declared extinct, and to go onto species identification expeditions, which is a dream of mine to go on. So I think
That's awesome.
yeah, that's what I would like to do. But I will definitely continue to be birding, but and to see rare species, but also the more common ones, because one of the jokes around here is that I haven't seen the most common tern species, which is even pretty doable in my part of the country, very far inland. But I have seen like all those. Quite a few crazy species, so that's always the joke. Like, oh, you can't be angry that you haven't seen an osprey until yesterday. You also don't have the little tern, or it's a little tern. I'm not sure of the English name. I can check. So yeah, it's very fun to be a new birder.
Hmm.
Um, but especially, I'm not saying all. I do have a few older birders who love having me around, but there are some who are like quite pretentious and don't want to explain everything. They're
Hmm.
like, just that's it, or they call something out but don't say why or whatever. Now I'm not as bothered by it, because both I know quite a lot more birds now, both by song and by seeing. But yeah, definitely in the early days, some people are not as welcoming as you'd expect.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a trade-off as you get older because we've been birding for like 10 years now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start, it's just so exciting because like everything's new. At least for us, we get stuff on the like rare bird alert, and we'd be like, I've
Yeah,
never even heard of that before. We should go try to find that. And there's just so much
yeah,
excitement. But I was commenting because now we know the vocalization's a lot better. You can go on a walk and identify everything you hear, and you're not worried about missing something. Because when
mm-hmm.
we started, I was always like, man, there could be some really rare bird, and I don't know what the call is. So it's there, and we totally
Yeah,
missed it and all that. Now there's kind of like a sense of certainty of like, yeah, like I didn't hear anything weird. Like I can pretty confidently say like we're not missing anything. But you do lose some of that excitement of like anything could be around at any time. But then even now there's stuff that gets reported where we're like, I've never heard of that.
yeah. That also still happens around here. Now, usually more with the American species, because we do, as I said, the Netherlands, most of the birds are migratory. So we do get some like mega rarities from like a very southern or northern country, where we're like, wow, that's pretty odd to be here. But because the Netherlands is such a migrating country, there are a lot of birds which are like pretty rare to see, but like are seen like once or twice in the entire country each year. So it's still very exciting to go out, especially during the migration seasons of spring and fall, to be like, oh, let's see what I can find out today, or maybe I can see something migrating over.
Yeah, are there a lot of people that do big ears in the Netherlands? Like they do in Netherlands big ear?
It definitely happens. I haven't. I'm not in that group yet. As I said, I'm pretty still confined with my social group of birders to my area, which I'm sure will broaden as soon as I will go study biology in the biggest biology university in the Netherlands. Um, but I do know it does happen also because of videos from Volker Jan Hoogstra,
Hmm.
who also is doing a photo and film big year right now, I believe, which with 250 species, which I'm like, it's very easy to do more, but I mean, we still got to upload videos.
Sure.
Because of I don't know how many species you guys usually get in your area of Wisconsin. Um,
In the year, like if you get over 300, that's like a pretty solid year.
yeah. So the record of our little area of Twente last year was, I believe, somewhere in the 220 species of birds that were found by one person, and I believe there were like 230 in the entire year. But if you compare the size of the Netherlands to the size of Wisconsin, that would be pretty even. And I do think we get quite a few more birds, but it's also because of migrating. We get a lot of migrating rarities, um, but we also get a lot more of like, yeah, it's kind of rare, but not unheard of. So like take the northern. Oh, I was afraid this was going to happen. The names are crashing in my mind. The northern, the Bohemian waxwing. That's what it
Oh
was.
yeah, yeah.
That's a species that has a huge influx. So, like some years you get like over 100 cases in the country every year, the year. Or this year we had a pretty barren year. We got like 35 or 50. Um, Same with like hoopoes or wrynecks. They are like very rare breeding birds, but we do get them every year. But where they show up and in how many show up is different every year. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, at the university that you're going to, what is like, do you know some differences between like universities in the Netherlands versus the US? Do you know a lot about how it is kind of
Um,
here?
I don't really know how it's over your guys' side of the pond. I do know over here, your guys' high school is like one clump. So you don't have dip over here. We have the high schools are divided into three groups based on basically intelligence and how many subjects you get, how many years you spend in high school. And because I spent because I'm finishing my final year in the highest grade, basically the highest of the three tiers, that's when you can go to university. Otherwise, you will go to a college or a MBO, which is a learning how to do specific crafts instead of going to a community college or whatever.
Okay, I think we call those like trade schools over here. Like you
I
learn to be like an engineer or something,
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, trade
or like
schools.
a carpenter or plumber or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you have to get either a diploma at the highest tier of the three, which is called VWO, which is short for preparing scientifical schooling, or you have to finish the college of the lower one, which is HBO, which is also something along the lines, but like a bit more like think of your teachers or like the middle of the tertiary sector in the country.
Okay, that sounds complicated.
It's a bit more complicated in the US, which also leads that I believe that like most of our universities can go earlier into more complex stuff um, compared to the US, because I believe the US high school is the same equivalent as the lowest of the three in the Netherlands of grade of school you get.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
It varies here, you know. It's kind of like I mean, yours sounds like it's more segmented by almost like intelligence, where ours is kind of
it
like you
doesn't. It's
make
more like how well you can learn and how if you
yeah.
want to go in sciences or want to go into like trade schools.
Okay, so more like career
Yeah, it's more
split.
like career oriented, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can imagine with careers, it usually starts to go pretty into intelligence, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like ours is more like if you're an individual that wants to work harder, there's more options. Like we have things like AP classes where it's
Yeah,
like in high school, then you can start trying to earn college credit sooner. So I feel like it's
yeah,
less divided up, but more like if you're an individual that wants to work harder, you can find those opportunities.
yeah. That's the largest difference here. Instead of having to be an individual, you are just in a higher tier of class than
Hmm.
others. can imagine.
I gotcha.
So I think the universities, I know that the University of Wageningen, Wageningen University and Research is also pretty well known in biology just worldwide. It's been like the best school to study biology in the country and in Europe for like quite a few decades, I believe. So I'm very excited to go there.
Yeah, man, that should be really exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for birds in your region? Is there a lot of development going on? Are there like
I
bird flu stuff?
And bird flu is not over here right now. I sometimes hear something over social media of like how I believe it's specifically the waterfowl and the raptors are having
Yeah,
trouble
more so
with.
them, yeah.
Yeah. I believe I watched your guys' video, so
Yeah,
no,
people got real conspiracy theory in the comments of that one.
no, bird flu is pretty regulated over here, also with chicken farms, etc. But we have a development. We also now have a political party in The Hague, which is the farmers' movement, basically. And they are also definitely not helping the nature reserves and etc. So the biggest challenge is indeed development and the farmland, which is being used more and more intensively instead of extensively.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, we have a lot of issues with development over here where it's just, there's always less and less wild areas. So trying
Yeah.
to protect those as much as we can is the best
Hmm.
and one of the bigger challengers.
Yeah.
Which bird do you think it can be where you live or somewhere else? But what bird do you think is the most underrated?
Ooh, most underrated bird. That's a tough one. I would probably say uh, it's probably like one of the raptors, which sounds pretty odd because most people are like, "Oh, it's a raptor." But I would say like maybe it's something like a Swayzens or zone-tailed hawk over
Hmm.
you guys' side of the pond, because it's like oh, it's another Buteo species or whatever, which we only have one Buteo species over here. Two, if we're very lucky, with rough-legged hawks, which are a winter migrant here,
Hmm.
a rare winter migrant. So I would say something along the lines of that, because a lot of birders get to see them and look at them, but not a lot of them appreciate them. I would say maybe that, but it's very hard to say. I think most birds do get the love they deserve. Especially by the people who care about birds.
And what are some non-native species that people don't like in the Netherlands? Or are you guys pretty like native species only?
We are kind of native species only on the website called Waarneming or Observation for worldwide. You do also have the tag exotic, so you have endemic and exotic as tags as well. And species like Egyptian goose or Canada geese are exotic species, and they are not well liked. You also have the domestic species of mallard and grey-leg goose, which are lovingly referred as soup geese and soup ducks and should be shot at sight by some people.
Jeez.
Yeah, they are pretty ugly though. Especially
Wow.
those hybrid cases of like a sickly green duck with like white speckles all over its body.
Jeez, Netherlands is tough.
Hates the
No,
waterfowl.
yeah, it's kind of the waterfowl, especially the exotic waterfowl, or the mix of the hybrids of domestic and non-domestic waterfowl, which is not as well liked.
We do get a lot of like those hybrid domestic mallards, but then you have people that like will come to the park and feed them every day. So they're kind of like beloved by some people, but I don't. Do
Yeah.
people dislike them, Rye? I feel like more people are just
It's
kind of
it's the
like,
birders. It's not the general public.
yeah,
They
yeah.
don't even know. Most of them think like, oh, it's a duck. They don't even know if it's species, just duck.
Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's just the birders that don't like the domesticated
Yeah.
animals. The normal people are just like, oh, cool ducks. Oh, they want food.
Oh, look at this one. It's kind of white. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
what other kind of wildlife is there to see, as in addition to the birds?
Um, it really depends on your specialty. If you want to come looking for reptiles, you're not in the right place.
Yeah.
We have a few species of lizards and we have three species of snake, and that's basically it. We do have a few amphibians, but one of the species that I'm also pretty interested in are the dragonflies and the damselflies around here. Um, it's also because of my area of the Netherlands is also quite a hotspot for the species because of the moors I was talking about. You get a lot of different moor specific and endemic species, which are quite rare in the rest of the country. Um, you also get quite a few Leoptra or moths
Mhm.
and micros, as you can imagine. Um, you also get quite a few butterfly species, of course, and some fish species. But there are a few mammals, but you're starting to hear the words of a biologist, not a not a
Aren't your
bird.
fish kind of like all brown too, and not that like pretty looking?
I mean, we have bass with the European bass. We have mussel-lunges. We have, I mean, there's quite a few fish that are like cool looking. Welsh catfish,
Oh, the
eel.
Wells
Oh,
catfish is
Wells
cool.
catfish.
Yeah, we
Dude, you
know a
should
lot
go
about
catch
Wells
like a
catfish.
9 foot Wells catfish. That's probably what
Well,
I would
they
do.
do, probably don't get as big unless you go to a fishing pond. And they're also like, are they endemic? Are they not endemic? It's debated.
That's
Uh,
a
Yeah.
species that people have a lot of
Yeah.
the horror stories about of people just
Well, and
like
they've
getting
they've
pulled
been
under the
known to
water.
there's footage of them. I don't know if you've seen it, jumping out of the water to eat pigeons.
yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, no. But I do like my large catfishes. I also grew up watching Jeremy Wade and with River
Oh
Monster.
yeah,
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah, no. I quite enjoy the big catfishes also of the Amazon, which like are known to like eat corpses or whatever, which is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you mind putting the name of that website in the chat? I want to check it out. The one that you guys
Yeah, no
use, the
problem.
sighting one.
Um, I'll send you the Dutch one specific. You also have a international, but it's still most Dutchmen who just put in their observations.
So it really is like a Dutch thing.
It's Dutch, Belgium. You have a Belgium specific, which is also very big over there, and you also have the Germany one, which is a bit smaller because of how large the population of Germany is, and it's also in Belgium. They also speak Dutch for quite a bit of the country. But if you click the link there, I'm not sure if you need a account to log in. But you can also look me up. You can look everyone up and see like what they've observed. So as I told, the recent rarities, you can
Oh
click.
yeah.
This is all the species, and they go from red is extremely rare, yellow is rare, uh, all the way to blue, which is uncommon, and green is common. But you can actually click on what kind of group you're excited for.
Falcated duck.
That's I haven't seen the falligated duck yet.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
Oh,
cool.
I did. Oh, yeah. The
Wait, you
bronze
forgot
skull.
you saw the
Uh,
falcated duck?
no, I haven't seen it in real life. I saw that it was on the front
Oh,
page.
okay, gotcha. I thought you were like, oh wait, never mind. I did go see it.
And then you have the spectacled eider from Texel as well. And you also get a rare subspecies, which is also like a kind of a big thing because sometimes our subspecies are still seen as full species by our committee, which aren't in your guys' committee and the other way around. So subspecies are also quite big, especially with the brand geese. We do get all three subspecies of brand geese every year, so that's also pretty exciting.
So I'm assuming this is that spectacled eider, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Excel. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, there you can see what it looks like for us. This is what most people use. Some people even question me for putting stuff in eBird as well. Uh,
Really?
yeah, because they see like this as the big thing and eBird as kind of like and that's the stuff that other countries use. But I know that it's used internationally, and this is
Yeah, that's so
mostly used
interesting.
nationally, so I put it in both. Uh, and if you go to the little hourglass to the right, you can actually look me up with my name, and then you can see like my observations, both with birds, but also with like the dragonfly species and whatever.
How do you spell your last name?
Kroeze. Yes. And then you can search for users. That's right in the bottom right corner. Yes.
Ah.
Oh, and then you have to log in now.
That's what it gets
Ah.
you. It doesn't let you spy on other people. You can see
Yeah,
I
their
guess I could
settings. You
make an
can't spy on
account.
them.
no spying unless you have an account.
I could
Yeah.
start birding in the start reporting stuff in the Netherlands.
Oh,
But you,
and do
it's
many
part
people in the US speak, or do many people in the Netherlands speak English? Is it very common?
it's almost expected. We get it
Oh,
in
okay.
school at every level, with a variant of success. I mean, over here, it's pretty well known that we are like not the best at English. We something have something called twangles, which is the mix of Twente, which is the little group of where I'm from, and Engels, which is the Dutch word for English. Um, which would sound a bit like this if I were talking a bit more like a Dutch accent, and if I not always know every word even goed.
Yep.
So
I
that
definitely
would
wouldn't
have
be able to understand.
a lot more difficult than right now.
Yeah.
So that's what we usually use waarneming.nl. Um, but because it's used for everything, so like see it as a iNaturalist, but it's way easier to use, and it's used for like everyone in the country for like biology purposes.
I do kind of like that there's like the rare bird section on the front of it that is just kind of
Yeah,
right in your face. I feel like it really makes it feel like that's the most important thing is like finding the rare stuff.
for some, as you know, like from the year listers that you've heard of, it is quite a big thing over here. So yes, it's definitely a big part of Dutch birding culture to search for rarities, because there are so many possible rarities, if you can catch my drift. So like
Yeah.
over there, in if you are like over the entire country, you might have a few, but then they're like a 12-hour flight away. But over here, a dedicated twitcher has to drive 3 hours from one side of the country to the other, but you still get like a way more species than you'd get in Wisconsin or whatever.
Look at this cool
Ooh,
newt.
that is cool.
You ever seen
That's
one of these?
I haven't seen any newts yet, unfortunately. Um, you don't always get to fish everywhere or go with nets. That's pretty specific to some biologists, so
Really?
especially
So
the
you're not allowed to?
are no the regulations and the rules around nature sites are pretty heavily regulated.
Wow, I would hate that.
Almost every path is like said where you can and can't go. And during or if the breeding season is on or off, you sometimes can go to paths or can't go to paths, etc.
Dang.
So that's why birding is also so well known and well liked. It's easy to see birds if they fly away or whatever. Instead of having to go into a specific moor and you can only walk on the paths, and how big are the odds that the lizard or whatever you're looking for is standing right in front of the path, etc.
Yeah. What do you think is a misconception that people have about the Netherlands?
Um, there's so many. Um, Well, the Netherlands is starting to gain a bit of traction on social media as well, with things they're like brutally honest, they cannot lie or whatever. And I mean, we're a bit more brutally honest than other countries, but not by like how much they make it seem or whatever. And we all speak English, so it's rare to find someone who has troubles talking to you in English, even if it's a bit broken, than to find someone who doesn't speak it at all.
You know, I think part of that comes from the show Ted Lasso, because I remember there's a character in it who's Dutch, and he just says like blatantly rude things all the time. And one of the other players goes, "Don't worry about him. He's not rude. He's just Dutch."
That could definitely be the case. I haven't heard of Ted Lasso myself. I don't know.
It's pretty funny. It's a show about a guy who's
Sitcom kind of,
a
or
American football coach, and he starts coaching a footballs and soccer team.
gotcha.
It's pretty funny.
It has at
Our
least one Dutch person in it,
Yeah, yeah.
allegedly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's not as much as a novelty to coach soccer around here.
Yeah. What do you guys do for fun over there besides birding and stuff? Or is it
Um,
just all birding all the time?
no, birding isn't a very large part, especially of the younger people around here. I'm the odd one out instead of the majority who are interested in nature. Um, well, soccer is, especially in the more rural parts of the country, as where I'm from, quite a big factor in life. Not actually, but for young kids, it is. Well, sports are pretty huge over here, and especially as you go to the eastern half of the country, most teenagers just like to go into something they call honk, which is quite literally just a shed in and some farmland owned by one of the kids and just kind of drink. Uh,
I like that there's a
yeah,
specific word for that.
yeah, yeah. We have words.
I know you're visiting the US, but if you could go anywhere in the world to bird, where would you choose?
I mean, what would be my dream is to go to a place like Papua New Guinea and maybe even find or describe a new species, as you know, every young birder has dreams of. But what's also very exciting is my specialty, which I would love to, as a biologist, would be to help find or refind dying out or extinct species. And I believe that the inland of Papua New Guinea also has quite a good chance of still housing Tasmanian tigers. So that's a thylacine, which I would just be over the moon if they still existed.
Yeah, that's one that I feel like I don't know. We have the ivory-billed woodpecker thing.
Yeah,
So people
I'm.
say
I
that they
would.
see them, but at most of the time it's like affiliated or something. But
I would.
Tasmanian tiger, I feel like it's the same, where people are constantly like, "Oh yeah, I see them," but there's no evidence that comes out.
I mean, it's like, oh, they see him, and over like in like New Zealand and Australia. But how I see it is like where they originally evolved from is Papua New Guinea, and it's basically 5 kilometers from the coast. It's unexplored for like the entire country, and they are known to live in the higher tropical wetlands, and they're very skittish. So if there's a place that they would still be, it's there because no one has actually looked there. That's my point of view.
Wouldn't that be cool though? They still
That
existed.
would be cool.
It would be very cool. I
Yeah.
would I would love to see one, but there's so many animals I would love to see, as you can imagine.
Yeah. Well, it's an exciting time, being a new birder and I'm sure you're gonna see a ton of stuff on your US trip and all that. So
Mhm.
bright future as far as the birds that you'll be able to
Yeah,
see ahead.
very bright future, hopefully.
Do people do pelagics in the Netherlands?
I know that they are done, but most of our species of petrels, storm petrels, etc., are pretty doable to see from the coast because we have this after the strait between Britain and France. They are usually either all the way out of sea, like at the middle of the sea, where you even with pelagics don't go, or there are like with good winds pressed against the coast, and then you can see them. That's why I also have Leia's storm petrel. I believe is the species. It's I'm checking right now, which I did see during a migration counting on the birding owl of Texel.
Cool.
It's not actually a birding owl, but that's what it's referred to over here.
I
Uh,
gotcha.
yeah, Leach's Storm Petrol. Yeah,
Oh, leeches.
yeah, Leach's Storm
Oh
Petrol.
yeah, we saw those out Washington. Black
Hmm
with a white rump.
hmm
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
one of the more like global rare species I've seen instead of regionally rare species.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us, Owen. Anything you want to add about birding in the Netherlands or being a young birder or anything like that?
I mean, usually it's like don't be as annoyed or distracted by all the grumpy old people. They even though they do sometimes suck, they mean well, and it's fun to bird with someone even if they're a bit older than you. And to especially share with your friends if they are interested, and if they aren't interested, just don't bother them with it as much. If you catch my drift, so like you can have friends and that don't bird, just it will be fine. That's basically what I'm saying.
Gotcha. Ryan, anything else for Owen?
No, thanks for joining us, Owen. Happy for you to be making the trip to the United States soon.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
curious to see what your thoughts are after your trip is done.
very curious as well. Only time will tell, though.
Yeah, well, thanks, Owen, and thanks to everyone for watching and listening to this episode of the Badgerland Birding Podcast.